Welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. We would really appreciate if you could recommend us to your friends and family as well as share information on social media. We are a commercial initiative of just 2 people and we need your help to grow. With your support, we are getting better. My name is Artem and here is the news. 341 days Ukraine stands strong against the forces of the Russian invasion. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen visited the south of Ukraine, in particular Mykolaiv and Odessa, reports Interfax Ukraine. Frederiksen, together with President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky, visited wounded Ukrainian defenders in one of the hospitals in Mykolaiv, as well as the Mykolaiv Regional Military Administration, which was partially destroyed as a result of Russian rocket attack on March 29, 2022. Then 37 people became victims of the Russian attack. They also visited Mykolaiv commercial seaport and inspected oil storage tanks destroyed as a result of enemy missile and drone strikes. In addition, Zelensky and Frederiksen visited an individual heating point equipped with a water purification and distribution unit. This project was implemented with the support of Denmark, which was one of the first to give the city assistance in providing residents with drinking water after the Russian aggressor destroyed the traditional water supply system from the Dnipro River. Denmark, from the first days of a full-scale invasion, has been helping Mykolaiv and supporting the city as part of its patronage over it. At a joint press conference in Odessa, President of Ukraine said that Denmark is ready to join an international coalition to provide Ukraine with tanks and thanked the Prime Minister and Defense Minister of Denmark. The head of state said that he discussed with Danish Prime Minister the possibility of strengthening the air and anti-ship defense of the southern regions of Ukraine. The parties also discussed cooperation at the level of EU and Euro-Atlantic structures, the necessity to continue the sanctions policy against Russia, and the adoption of the 10th package of sanctions. One of the key issues raised during the meeting between Zelensky and Frederiksen was the implementation of the Ukrainian peace formula, which, according to Zelensky, Denmark will actively support. Denmark also announced that it joined the Grain from Ukraine initiative to supply Ukraine's grain to the poorest countries. Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, Oleksiy Danilov, said that mobilization in Ukraine has not stopped for a single day since the start of the invasion, reports NVUA. This way, he answered a question about a possible new wave of mobilization. According to him, Russian propaganda tries to present that allegedly people are being conscripted at gunpoint in Ukraine. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine has already concluded 16 state contracts with Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles manufacturers. It is planned to allocate about $540 million for the purchase of drones in 2023, reports Slovo i Dilo. Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov said that this is just the beginning, as drones are used not only for aerial reconnaissance but also to adjust artillery fire and attack enemy forces. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, said that the US does not plan to send F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine, reports European Pravda. Later, the White House National Security Council Strategic Communications Coordinator John Kirby said that the US already sends a lot of aid to Ukraine. These assets will be critical for the Ukrainians to fight in the winter and also in the spring. President of France Emmanuel Macron does not exclude the possibility of supplying Ukraine with fighter jets. He said that in terms of supplying jets to Ukraine, nothing is forbidden. But Macron specified that it should not lead to escalation and should not weaken the French army. Mateusz Morawiecki, Prime Minister of Poland, stated that supplying Ukraine with the F-16 fighters or other aircrafts can only be possible in close cooperation with other NATO allies, like it was in case with the Leopard tanks. Meanwhile, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz insists that supplying Ukraine with jets is completely out of the question at the moment. The US Armed Forces announced the shipment of the first batch of Bradley infantry fighting vehicles to Ukraine, reports Ukrainska Pravda. More than 60 Bradleys departed from the coast of North Charleston, South Carolina, for Ukraine. France and Australia intend to jointly launch a large-scale production of artillery shells for Ukraine, reports Interfax Ukraine. According to the French media, the first shells will be delivered in the first quarter of this year. The goal of the joint project of France and Australia is to ensure the continuous supply of ammunition to Ukraine for a long time. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said that North Korea supplied Russian mercenaries from Wagner private military company with missiles for fighting in Ukraine, reports Voice of America. During a speech to students of Seoul University, the Alliance Secretary General said that Russia is preparing for a new large-scale offensive in Ukraine. He added that South Korea should support Ukraine, including with military assistance, in particular ammunition, which Ukraine desperately needs. According to the U.S. Institute for the Study of War, Russia is preparing for an imminent offensive which can start in the coming months, reports Ukrainska Pravda. The experts expect the offensive to likely take place in Luhansk Oblast, but Russia has not yet finished preparations for it. Ukraine's Air Force pilot Danilo Murashko died while performing a combat mission in Kramatorsk district of the Donetsk region, reports Ukrainska Pravda. A 24-year-old pilot was hit by a Russian jet on January 27th. He refused to eject safely and tried to take plane away from residential areas till the last moment. Murashko has carried out 141 combat missions since the start of the full-scale invasion of Russian forces, destroying about 70 units of armored vehicles, more than 80 motor vehicles, around 30 tankers with fuel and oil materials, and approximately 600 Russian military personnel. For his outstanding achievements in the fight with the Russian army, the pilot was awarded with all three classes of the Order of Bogdan Khmelnytsky, Ukraine's highest military award. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.